Evening all, welcome to day 6. So today we have a particular treat for you. A lot of people have asked for this as well, so we actually adjusted our schedule slightly to include this one a bit sooner. Welcome to Portal 2. Now, this, I'm sure a lot of you are like, oh yeah, cool. Yeah, this is a game that I think, a lot of people I'm sure have played. If you haven't played this, then oh my gosh, you're in for a treat. But if you're not, I'm probably sure you're very aware of it. And millions and millions of words and millions of minutes of footage have been put into probably producing videos for this. So it's very difficult to kind of approach this from a different angle. So I'm going to try, and it's probably going to fail. But hey, the point is, really, we wanted to discuss, I think, certainly the mechanics of something like this, and I think also the business environment by which you see a game like this. So don't worry, it won't be boring, but I really want to kind of just sort of talk about how the fact that innovation is one of the key things that a lot of gaming companies obviously strive to do, but then probably don't. Now, a lot of this is very similar to, I guess, any business in any situation at all. So, we'll discuss this because you get the people with the bright ideas, and then you get the money men who don't want that. They want to do something safe and secure. Nintendo, Mario, Zelda, etc. So, and there's nothing wrong with that, but certainly that seems to be where a lot of gaming companies, go to. Their investors will only fund something if it's pretty much a sure bet, which is just natural. It's obvious it's going to be the case. With this particular example, I would say Valve is the exception to the rule, because Valve are one of these rare gaming companies that have balls. They have cojones, and it's probably because Gabe Newell who's the kind of, I think he's the CEO, or is he the MD, I forget, but top guy within Valve is Gabe Newell, and I think it's a great example of an intrapreneurship where everything is organized like a spider web around him, and it's only in those sort of companies where you get innovation like this. So it's kind of an interesting situation in the gaming industry that a lot of the time the games that are fresh, innovative, really quite clever, like Minecraft and even things like Terraria and things that Valve have produced, obviously they come out of the woodwork because they're usually driven by a single person's vision. So Notch from Minecraft, etc. And you then get one clear crystal vision of what they want to produce, and everybody then either loves it or hates it. So for every Minecraft, there's probably 1,000 games that just never see the light of day. And that's an interesting kind of situation, because a lot of the time when you start to get big business involved in it, you start to have problems. Anyway, that door, I just want to tell you about this door. Look at my surprise, is it now being open? I must have spent 15 minutes looking around the large cavern thinking, what am I missing? And I didn't realize that door opened when I pressed it and turned around too quick. So seriously, set your mouse sensitivity a bit lower. Oh, and again, this one, right? Let's talk about Portal, because this is the irony of this game. If you do what I've done here, I haven't played Portal for probably a year and a half, maybe 2 years. And I thought to myself, well, I'm not going to play it from the start because that's a bit boring. I wanted to show you something cool with the portal gun, etc., etc. So I thought I'd jump in sort of in the middle. This is, I think, chapter 6. And I forgot how to play. I forgot how to portal. I literally forgot how to portal. And it took me forever to do that cavern bit, and it took me forever to do this bit. And I've edited out because obviously I don't want you to see me walking around scratching my ass thinking, what am I doing wrong here? And I finally figured it out, and it all kind of started to flood back. And this is, I think, one of the beauties of things like Portal, because what they do is they provide a conveyed experience to you. But if you jump in right at the wrong point, you have no idea what's going on. And it's funny because it is a real problem-solving game, and it's fascinating seeing the kind of logical thought process as it evolves. So you basically go from A to B, and then C to B to C, C to D. But if you jump in straight at C, you've not actually done any of the simple stuff. So you actually forgot how I forgot how the portals work. So I'm a bit of a dumbass, as it happens, and I've tried to edit it so that it look all manly and clever. But I'm not even going to try and hide the fact that I had no idea what I was doing. As you can see, look, I'm like, oh, why portal no worky? So here we go. So as you can see, it's yeah, not good. If you've never played Portal, let me just explain what it is. It started, I think, as a bit of a tech experiment for Half-Life 2. I'm sure the more neck-beardier people in the channel will say that I'm wrong, but that's certainly what I remember it. But it kind of came from nowhere, and it was always wrapped up in a kind of Valve bundle of products. So Half-Life 2, Team Fortress. And then all of a sudden, Portal 1 came out, and people were just a bit kind of like, what, there's no guns? What, there's no enemies? Ooh, well, that's crap. But then when they played it, they realised that this was the most fulfilling experience game, puzzle game they'd ever played in their life. And I have to sort of agree with that. There is something about the Portal, I guess, experience that just makes you completely squee with joy. And I think, particularly when you get some really difficult puzzles like here, I was able to figure this one out. I think I miss. Yep, I miss. What a noob. But it's all around that kind of trial and error thing. And I think the buzz line to this game was physics can be fun, or physics is fun, and I agree that. I think this was a really great example of where just knowing to put that portal a bit higher actually means that I can then make it. And also I need to move in the air, so I need to sort of strafe left, and there we go. And that's it, simple as that. Now, I won't spoil the story for you, so if you don't want me to spoil the story, look away now. This is, how to explain this? Stuff's happening story-wise. If you don't know what's happening, there is a potato in that nest. And yes, I just said those words. So if you don't know the story, there is a potato in the nest. Done. That's it. Let's just end it there. And I'm not gonna stop for any of the narrative as well. So because I don't want to spoil it. I think this game, if you're going to play Portal, which I think you should if you never have, it is just well worth it. Yes, there's no PvP action, but there is one of the most, I guess, coherent and enjoyable stories ever in a game. And it's so simple. Again, it's another triumph of Valve, keeping things simple but creating a really nice world around you. And it's the whole thing. I mean, I wrote an article on the website, check it out, SquadB.com, about mute leading characters, because to me there is something quite interesting about a character that you play that never speaks. And it's that whole thing of, to be honest, sometimes too much is too much, literally. And I think what was interesting, particularly for me, was Gordon Freeman never spoke. The Chell, who you play here, never speaks. A lot of good characters never spoke. Isaac Clarke from the first Dead Space, etc. And to be honest, I kind of got a bit annoyed in the later games when Isaac Clarke started really jibber-jabbering on about God knows what. Who cares? I love the fact that he was kind of... There was this wonderful bit in Dead Space 1 when he got this kind of message from his girl, his woman, he's obviously trying to find. And it was just like, help me, Isaac, help me. And then the message cut. And all you just saw was him sort of shrug a little bit. I must have been my mind, but I just remember thinking, oh, what's she going on about now? What's she yammering on about now? And if you're a guy in a relationship, you're nodding sagely right now, because it's just that moment where you think, what? And I love the fact that he didn't say anything. I think there is something quite cool about that. Anyway, back to the topic. I think Portal 2, if you're going to come into the series, come in obviously at Portal 1, because this is a direct continuation of Portal 1. And it's something that I would stress is probably well worth, it's well worth, I think, checking out as you see how completely bad I get my Portals. You actually become quite proud of how good you become at, quote, portaling after a while. As you can see, I sneaky edit there because, again, I'm scratching my head thinking, what? I think literally a trained chimp could have done it better than me today. So here we go, on to the next chapter. And the beauty of, I think, Portal 2 was it was no longer just about portals, it was also about the other things that are going on. And again, not to spoil the story, but where we are at the moment is below the test chamber area. You're actually in a kind of abandoned warehouse, kind of abandoned mega site. And there's lots of other things going on. So there's lots of testing and chemicals and interesting kind of things going on, basically, that give the game real depth. And I think this was a real kind of again, a sequel's always going to be quite difficult, but what I think they did here was just incredibly good. They kept what was great from the original game and added more that was even that is just as good. So I think that was a real kind of achievement there. This is kind of why things like Half-Life Half-Life 2 took so long. It's probably why I hope Half-Life 3 is taking so long as well. I mean, chances are we may never actually see Half-Life 3 until Valve make a really bad investment decision and all of a sudden they need quick cash. That's probably going to be what happens here. I'm sorry to say, but it is. And I think certainly when it comes to a lot of gaming lately, they will only ever do safe bets. So coming back to our industry talk, what you find, certainly from what I can read from the sort of gaming press, is that a lot of the time gaming companies are really not given the artistic license by the publisher anymore to do games like this. And this is where Valve obviously self-publish. I believe they self-publish. They are a publisher in effect. Developer publisher stroke. So they have that kind of privilege of focus, let's say. There's a real buzzword for you there. When you get privilege of focus, it means you can just focus on what you need to focus on to make a good product or game. And I think particularly with Valve, they have that ability. So they probably have a very good bank investment lead or link. And if they need funds, they get funds. If they've probably shown that they have the ability to create critical successes. So they have probably the ability to sit on a game for years until it's good and it's critically acclaimed before it's even released. And that is a real kind of blessing. Now the thing is, ironically, a lot of other gaming companies should do this. They shouldn't release half-assed attempts at a game. But the problem is that if you've got really bad backers and stakeholders who just want their buck, then to be honest, you're screwed, because what you'll probably find is that much of the time you're going to be having to deal with complete tools who just want their pound of flesh. And what ends up happening is that you end up pretty much with a piss poor game that's been rushed. The developers probably don't even want to release it, but lo and behold, the money men are saying you've got to release it. So tough shit, release it, get it out there. And I think that sometimes is what kills most games, because there could be a much better game underneath the hood if they just had another 6 months to tinker or something like that. But unfortunately, it's a money business, and it's a pretty bad one at times, I think. Anyway, so not to be too down, it is Christmas after all. So I think, Portal 2, if you've got it, dust it off, have a play of it. I think you'll probably have a real riot playing it. I know I did. I said to myself, I'll play it for about half an hour, and I'll edit that down to about 15 minutes, and Bob's your mother's brother, you're done. And I think about 2.5 hours later, I was still trying to figure out certain puzzles. So I was like, damn it. But I was stressed. I had a smile on my face all the way through it. Oh my God, this one completely broke my mind. It took me about an hour to do this one. So you're about to see the most edited footage in the world ever. It makes me look like I'm super godly pro. I have no idea. I was literally walking around going, what? So many things. And I've done this already. I played this game through like 7 or 8 times, yet my brain just is not playing ball with me. So I just had no idea what I'm doing. And the thing, again, the beauty of this game is that it kind of does keep you going with regards to story as well. So a lot of the time, gaming is not particularly friendly when it comes to story. It's all a bit kind of like, if you look at some of the other games we've played, PlanetSide 2 doesn't even bother with a story. They just say, right, here's some guns, here's a planet, go kill each other. And I like to think of it almost as the NRA version of the future. But with regards Portal, they obviously have put the story front and center while having a really good puzzle game around it. Some of the other ones, Euro Truck Simulator, does that have a story? God, no. Imagine that with a story. You're Dave and you're driving. No, it just wouldn't work. Imagine that. It just wouldn't work. But I think there's a lot of really kind of cool stories going on that I think, again, don't dismiss a game if it's got a story or doesn't. I think it's more a case of let's see how good it is. Portal 2's story was very good. It had obviously Stephen Merchant from the much acclaimed Office and other things, extras. I can't remember. He's really good, funny guy. And he did the voice of Wheatley. So obviously Wheatley's become a really kind of fanboy-esque kind of character, and rightly so, because he's actually pretty funny in it. And I think this also kind of shows you a more kind of interesting trend towards people wanting to become part of narratives for games as well. So having somebody like Stephen Merchant, who's now a Hollywood star, I guess, is quite an important thing, because he obviously provided his voice. He was sort of very interested and excited to do the role from what I read. So There you go. It's all pretty interesting stuff that I think a lot of times, the Hollywood stars are getting in on it. I don't know if you saw, there's a game recently on the PS3, I think it was, whose name completely escapes me, but it had basically the girl from Juno, and I think William Hurt. No, not William Hurt. The guy, the Green Goblin guy from Spider-Man. Again, I've prepared really well for this, as you can tell. And it's almost like a Hollywood film, but it's a game. So this is kind of where it's going now. And I think it's because people have seen Mass Effect 3 and 2 and 1, and I think they've seen Skyrim. I think they've seen a lot of games now that are kind of, Grand Theft Auto 5 is probably a great example. I think every actor in the world is probably kicking themselves that they didn't get that role of Trevor, because what a fascinating character that is. And to be honest with you, it was acted so well. I know only voice acting, but whatever. That guy is probably set. His career is set now, because he could go and do any job ever, and people will love his voice. And that's the beauty of it, is that sometimes I think I feel gaming is becoming the partner of movies now, less than just the kind of nerdy sub cousin who you kind of keep in the cupboard when visitors come. And I think almost in a few years' time, I could see gaming passing Hollywood, because I think, quite frankly, Hollywood is it's a troubled business. It's not as a kind of developed business as it obviously used to be, but I think it certainly seems to have issues, personally, with obviously the issues of piracy, etc. But so do games. But I think there just seems to be a kind of generally a kind of decline slightly in the way that cinema and movies, etc., are going. And I just think people now, as a younger generation come up who like gaming, who will continue to play games, you're going to get this issue where it will continue to become more of a thing. So there we go. That was Portal 2. Again, I died at the end, so I just faded to black. We're going to write something on our website about this. Please go and check it out, squadb.com. We're going to write some kind words about Portal 2. We're going to maybe look at also the business in a slight kind of way. But otherwise, hope you enjoyed that, and I hope you're looking forward to tomorrow's video. Hope you enjoyed that. See you next time.